Hi there. Today's lesson is about measures of center. So we're going to be determining which value out of mean, median, or mode best represents a set of data. So we're going to be looking for numbers that are accurate and that give us a measure of center that is realistic. I've given us a set of data today that represents my scores in my writing class. When I look at my scores, I noticed that I had some days that were much better than others. So I had a day where I got a 70. I got a day that I had a tough time and got a 10. Then I had a decent day after that, an 88. I got a 42, then a 10, and then an 84, and then a 60. So these are all of the scores that I got personally in my writing class. And what I want to do today is I want to talk to you about the measures of center. So one thing that you will notice is today we do not want to look at range. The reason why we don't want to look at range today is because range doesn't help us measure the center. So mean, median, and mode are three ways that we can try to find the center or how similar some data is. But the range doesn't tell us how similar data is. It's actually a measure of variation. It measures how different my data is. So today, I don't care about range at all. I'm looking at the three M's: mean, median, and mode. Those are three ways to try to find center. So first I'm going to have to look at my mean, median, and mode for my data. I like to start with my mode. I think it's the easiest. So my mode is what's happening the most, and I see the most common score I got was a 10. So the mode of my writing scores is a 10%. Next, I'm going to look at median. Before I can find the number in the middle, I have to put my scores in order. So my scores in order would look like this. I got a 10, I got another 10. I'm going to start checking these off. It's hard to keep track. My next lowest score was this 42. Then I see a 60 and a 70. I see an 84 and I see an 88. So there's my scores in order. I've just rearranged them so they go from my worst day to my best day. And I want to find the median, or the number in the middle. So I'm going to start underlining my lowest score with my highest score and move towards the center. I'm going to underline the 10, 84, 42, and 70. So I have found that my median or my middle score is a 60. So my mean would be adding all of my scores up. This gets a little bit tricky, so I'm going to try and take this a few steps at a time. I'm going to erase my marks and try to add these in a couple different groups. I'm going to put 70 and 10 more makes 80 and 10 more makes 90. So far I've gotten 90. Next, I'm going to put a 42 with a 60. I know that 60 and 40 is 100, and then 2 more makes 102, 102. Next, I'm just going to keep my 80s on their own. So I'm going to put 88 and 84. I'm going to add these up. So I got 364. That's all the points that I've earned in writing class. Now to find my average, I'm going to take my 364 points and I'm going to divide by how many assignments that was over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to divide by 7. What this means is I'm taking all of my writing points and I'm putting them into 7 equal piles to see on average on your kind of center day how many points I would earn. Okay, so 7 doesn't go into 3. 7 goes into 36 5 times, which is 35. 1 left. 7 goes into 14 twice, and no leftovers. So I'm saying that my mean or average score is a 52. I'm going to circle these just to make it a little easier for us, and then we're going to chat. So since mean, median, and mode are 3 different ways to try to find center, what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about which ones make the most sense. So my first question that I want to ask us is, which measure of center best represents me as a writing student? First, I'm actually going to get rid of one because I see one number up here that does not represent me as a writing student at all. So I see that the mode says that my most common grade is a 10. I would not want this grade to represent me. Although I got 2 scores of 10, look at my other days. If I choose a number like this mode, which is 10, that doesn't represent me as a student. Of course, I got 2 10s, but I also got a lot of other days where I did a lot better. So the mode in this case does not adequately represent me as a student. So I, in my head, would kind of cross this off. Although the mode happened the most, it doesn't represent me as a student because it is much too low to show my other days. So if I were to be finding the best representation of me as a writing student, I would actually go with one of the 2 options that are left, and they're both reasonable. I would say I could pick a 52 because if I look at my numbers, lowest score of a 10, highest score of an 88, a 52 would fall somewhere in the middle or the center of that. I would also accept a 60 because 60 also falls somewhere in the center between a 10 and an 88. So both of those numbers are reasonable. Mean or median makes sense in this case. The mode did not because it was much too low to represent me as a whole student. The last question is, what do you think I would want my writing teacher to pick? So we said that mode is obviously out because I am not represented by that 10. Even though I got a couple 10s, I got some numbers higher than that. If I were to go to my writing teacher and plead my case, what would I try to convince my writing teacher to give me as a score? My mean or my median? Of course I would want my median because a 60 is higher than a 52. Both of these numbers are reasonable. I would want the median. Although most teachers do the mean, I would definitely try to plead my case and say, but my median number is a 60 and that's somewhere in the center. And I'd try to convince her, although it might not work. So now it's time for you to practice a little bit about measures of center and make sure when you're answering those questions, you pick a measure of center that accurately represents the whole data. We don't want the center to be too high or too low. We want it to fall reasonably in the middle. Good luck and do your best.